No, you got it. You mentioned your strength staff, and I just love Coach Feld. On a personal, he's just a great person, great at his craft also. And then the staff around him on that strength. I mean, I don't know if fans understand this, but those guys get to see the young men quite a bit when you aren't able to because of the NCAA periods of, off season and this and that. And when you're not able to see them and watch them work out, the strength conditioning staff is. So they're kind of your eyes and ears on the ground for many months of the year.
And they set the standards for the culture as well, because at some point in time, they're going to have to deliver that team to the hands of the football coaches. And by the time they do that, that team has to be disciplined. It's got to be well-conditioned. It's got to be mentally tough. It's got to understand the principles and values of what we do, what we hold at the core of our program, right? And so that's a big responsibility, especially while at the same time, you are pushing them, to their mental and physical, limits, and looking for breakthroughs to help them just continue to improve. And doing that requires special people. And not only Coach Feld, who does a great job, but that entire staff, all those guys. The strength staff does a phenomenal job with those guys. They're very well connected. The relationships are going to be at the forefront of everything we do. So what you're looking at here is, I guess the best way to put it is like the words culture and the word family. Those are big words, and they're real words here. It's not a tagline here. It's not just something that's said in passing. Here it's everything to us, and certainly much more important than scheme or any cool play that we can draw up on a Wednesday in preparation for a Saturday opponent.
Well, I almost laughed when, you mentioned family. You don't even have to tell me your family culture, because I hear from every single recruit I talk to, the guys that commit. Why did you commit? Well, the family atmosphere is real. My mom and dad love the coaching staff and the support staff at the University of Oregon. I'm hearing it nonstop. So I knew before I even mentioned the family culture at University of Oregon that it exists, because it's the word on the street. So, but Coach, here, well, I'm going to, go ahead.
Well, no, I just want to add to that because, and I apologize for interrupting. I just think it's important to mention, it's not for everybody, it's not. This is for people that are young men and families that are into it, that love the game of football, but love being around others and love competing, that truly place value in words like culture and family. And it's for coaches and staff that are completely in. I mean, it's very well documented. I know, we go long hours, and I like waking up at, we all that. That's great, but it takes that. That's what it takes. Your staff, your own families have to be married up to the program. At the end of the day, you're taking on a young man just like you would your own son. Mm-hmm. That's the philosophy behind it. It is that simple, but it does require everything you have. And that's why it's important, like not only in the recruiting process, but in the hiring process, that we hire people, both men and women, surround the organization that are willing to do that, but willing to do it because that's their passion. That's what they want to do. There is no faking it at Oregon. We do things a certain way, and it requires every ounce of what you have on a daily basis. And if you're okay with that, it fits. And what happens is the parents of our players and the players, they recognize that it's real. There is no punch the clock. Oh, it's just a job. So that's how we feel about Oregon. That's how we feel about our football family. And we feel like, again, we're just getting started. Wow. That was my spiel. Sorry about that.
No, I think back to 2 years ago, a little bit more than that, when you came in, and one of the things you want to do is clean up. The Ducks were having way too many penalties prior to you taking over, and I always thought that discipline off the field will lead to discipline on the field. And I was so happy, when you brought that same sentiment in and required, hey, like you just mentioned, if you're on time for a meeting, you're actually late around here, type of. That's how I was brought up. I played for West Point. We only won on the field because we were disciplined off the field. We ran a wishbone. Right. You can't run a wishbone without discipline, So I appreciate that very much. And I think that's one of the reasons the Ducks are winning today, is that they're getting 50 yards less in penalties per game. One of the many reasons. But that's my little spiel.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, I look at, look at how undervalued the fact that Coach Mastro has emphasized ball security to a point where I think we're second or third in the country in putting the ball on the ground. And then you combine that with the fact that we're forcing turnovers at a pretty high rate, and taking care of the football and tucking the ball in when you're placing a hand down, and staying onside when you know that tackle is giving you a fake flinch and there's plenty of noise, just because no matter how exhausted you are, like giving away 5 yards as opposed to getting a sack and the ball back to the offenses. It's discipline plays such a huge factor in making sure guys understand that and then put it into action when it's on the line. I mean, it's not because that's a long story. I won't get into that. I'm glad this is taped so you can edit as you need to. But there's so many examples about how discipline is not only, doing what or not doing what you're not supposed to do, but also doing what you're supposed to do when you don't want to do it. That's kind of the aspect of discipline that gets lost in translation sometimes. And I don't know. That's why we're just itching to get back around our guys, because you got to hit the restart button again, right? Culture, every single year, you're going to have to hit the restart button. Every team is different, and every team has different personalities, but every team has to be galvanized and come together for it to work. So that's what we're excited about.
How you're doing it.